GHE and age items. That's been Mort Smith's specialty for years and years and years on all the different contracts, but particularly X-15. So a lot of the GHE was Mort and a couple of guys that he had working with him for years. Like I say, this is kind of a skeleton crew that ended up following the project clear to the end of the flight, and is nowhere near the total group of fellows that worked in there. I've made up other lists there of another group this big that were there at one time, and I think Harry, when you get to talk with Harry, he still has the Christmas card mailing list, so he's going to have addresses and phone numbers of other guys that he can help. You've seen that before?
Yeah.
The group guys. Pete, of course, flew the last flight, the high-speed flight. McKay there is the one that rolled over in the Dash 2 first. He ended up being 3/4 inch shorter. Spine compression when he was upside down there like that. I was talking to him about the flight. What had happened up there? Mud Lake, right outside of Tonopah, was a primary recovery site. And all the way down the flight path, there were a series of emergency sites set aside that were surveyed out clear back at the start of the program, and emergency facilities. Depending on how far you get into the mission, depends on which one of the recovery sites you either double back to or coast on forward to the next one. Well, during the winter time, some young kids from Tonopah had been out on Mud Lake in a car, whirlies on the lake bed, and they had skidded up a furrow of mud, and it dried that way. And when McKay had to make the emergency landing that day, as he came in, comes in at a fairly steep angle of attack, hits those back skids and immediately pops down on the nose gear. And the nose gear missed the track, but one of the skids on the back of the ship hit that furrow of mud sticking up there and flipped the ship over. And John said as he felt the ship going over, he popped off the canopy, so it was out of the way. But then when the ship came down, like he's sitting scrunched in underneath the bird that way, with all the, not the full weight of the airplane, but his own body weight and a little bit of compressive weight from the airplane sitting on that spinal column and shoulder. Now, his brother worked as one of the NASA people at the NASA facility there on North Base, Edwards. And you'd see him around, working around the hangar and the engineering a lot up there. He apparently had polio when he was young. He was he was, a youngster back in the days before the Salk vaccine, and he had polio and was crippled. But I understand now that McKay is dead.
Yeah, he died several years ago. And they said it was complications due to the accident.
Yeah, I know that's what his wife. I had heard that's what his wife had tried to prove. And
that's the way it's written into the congressional record and everything. I got a copy of their little biography they had. Talked about that. No, the official story that I'd heard on that was that the landing gear the rear skid had collapsed because of the high landing loads, because he hit at a rather high speed. He was at a much higher rate of speed than normal.
I've talked with McKay, and I talked with the guy that ran Tonopah Airport at that time was the guy that was responsible for the fire engine, medical facilities, getting the pilot to Tonopah if he had to have medical treatment. Ray Blackman was Ray, and what was his wife's name? Angie. They had a little kid. What was that? Anyhow, Ray always had the fire engine right there by his hangar up at Tonopah landing strip, and then you had to drive across the desert to get down to Mud Lake.
About how far was that?
The best way would be to look at one of my maps so that we can check it out exactly. But as you left town, the town of Tonopah was up in a little saddle in between two ranges. You drive in from California up across through the White Mountains, through Benton Pass at the agricultural checkpoint, then out across and come into Tonopah from the west. But you never see the lights of the town until you come right up over the last mountains, and all of a sudden there's a town. And then to get out to Tonopah Airport, you go up out of the mountains again, then you're out on the desert flats. You see Tonopah Airport. Way off in the distance you can see some of the AEC buildings and the rest of the bombing range. But the Tonopah Airport hangars and buildings set in off the road maybe 3/4 of a mile. And Ray and his family lived there and were running that airport. And he was responsible for recovery work that had to be done immediately to help the pilot. He had the fire engine and the medical facilities to get the guy over to Tonopah if he had to. By then, the B-52 would have immediately notified Edwards that something had gone wrong in the drop, or they would be getting it over their radio, plus the telemetry data coming in, being fed in, would show them that something was wrong, and the Buffalo would be dispatched with the crew, which would have been Bill Albrecht, who was the NASA flight project engineer, the NASA engineer on the bird, and Larry and his team of mechanics to go up and take care of the mechanical problems in the ship. But Ray and McKay both told me that thing was a furrow that was kicked up there by kids racing a jalopy out there on the lake bed while it was wet, and that was what the ski hit and rolled the bird over.
Did you know John pretty good? Okay.
Only from
Just from
thing
oh.
there on the project. And then I worked several times with Joe, because Joe would come down occasionally to L.A. Well, all these fellows would from time to time, but Joe seemed to be down the most. He was the guy that I spent, oddly enough, the most time briefing on the tank system and how it worked. But I think that what he was doing when he was going back up, he was passing on to the rest of these guys everything that he was learning about the new tank system from us.
Joe's one of the guys that still got to get a hold of it. He's still in the astronaut office down in Houston.
Well, he was on Space Shuttle
2. He was on
2 flights back, or 3 flights back. Yeah.
Do you know anything about there was a couple of additions to the X-15s number 1 and 2 that I believe were cameras, but I'm not really sure. I don't know if they were modified at North American or done by NASA. On the A2, it's just about the center of the fuselage. In fact, that's right, it is. It's in the 29-inch extension. On the bottom, there's a flat plate down there.
I think that's the Maurer camera. In fact, I've got some photos right here.
Oh, is that?
Well, now this one here is this is the Hicon camera.
Okay.
And this is shot, the way this shot was made here was after launch, and when he was up in his ballistic trajectory, the ship was rolled up to the side, and the picture was taken, and then the ship rolled back down, and he continued on through the rest of the trajectory. Now then, I don't know if you've done much bumming around our mountainous areas up there or not, but look at some of these names and coordinate them on the face of that. You can see the total distance that camera was looking there, because this one,
I've driven up through here before. That's 395 goes right through the middle of that.
yeah, when you're looking out here at Mount Diablo, you're looking clear out at the Coast Range.
Oh yeah.
Mount Diablo's out in the Bay Area, and you're looking across this whole area in here. Then between Diablo and the Sierra Range, you're looking clear across the San Joaquin Valley. You're seeing the range of coastal mountains out there. You're seeing the Sierras. You're seeing then Owens Valley up through here. You're seeing far enough south to see Ballarat and Panamint Valley. Ballarat was one of the recovery sites also.
I know I've gotten comments from the pilots like Pete and stuff. They'd say you could look out the window and you could see from the Bay Area all the way down to Baja.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic view when you got up there on top. So the Hicon then? Was that what that section was underneath, or was
after we made the Dash 2, I think that it's the Maurer camera, but I think that if you'll talk with some of these other guys, for instance Harry Shapiro there, I think that when you talk to him, he'll be able to tell you if that was the Maurer camera or not.
Okay, what's the difference between the Hicon and the Maurer?
Two different
Just a
types.
different make.
No, I think it's two different types of cameras. An improvement on technology of some sort, where they've gone from one and they're trying to go to something better. But for instance, on one of the flights, and this is these are those flight plans. This is one that Rushworth made, and this is the high-speed one that Pete Knight made. This is the camera looking out the bottom of the aircraft, and this is the AEC road. The Atomic Energy Commission people that own this bombing range. This is the road coming down on to the range. The Tonopah Highway is up here. Tonopah Airport sits over here. The town of Tonopah is sitting here. This is the road coming down into the AEC range, and this is with the Maurer camera actually working. These are a series of photographs, and end to end. Now then, in one of these shots, here now. We're already off of this paper, or the road is off the side here. This is a target that's laid out right here, and then after the launch, we made a 28-degree left roll, and he looked out that side of the ship, and then this is the second frame of that roll. This is the same as that.
Further down.
Yeah, just a little bit further down, and I think a different part of the roll. And it looks to me like there's been a change in the focusing or zooming capability of the camera that's been done. I'm not familiar with it. It's just that this was done on one of the tank drops, and I ended up with this is the third frame of the roll. But now, yeah, this is a continuation of this. See that buckle and the escarpment right there.
Back to the road here again.
I got that launch sequence because that's the fourth frame after I launched it. That's the one right here. Yeah, that's just a sequence. Okay, and then this is Cactus Peak. And Cactus Peak is where is launch point. You're coming down when you get right over this one.
So that was a shot taken right at the launch then?
Yeah.
Pretty close to it.
And this is another escarpment. This is called Stonewall on the map there. That's the frame immediately prior to ejecting the tanks. And this is right at the moment of tank ejection right here. Velocity 2,170 feet, Mach 2.27, altitude 69,700 feet. Pulling a Q of 340, angle of attack 3.5 degrees. Next one below this. Now then, what happened after ejection then, I was trying to because of the release of all that of all the mass of the tanks underneath him, and because of the force of the ejection of the tanks being released, there's a change in attitude of the ship. So that's why there was a sudden change in the ground pattern underneath, and then Cactus Spring and the Range Road are just two more points on the road, and then this is the last frame here. That's my car right there.
Oh, yeah?
Parked right there on the shore of dirt road. Right there.
White spot there?
Yeah. That's the top.
So this is where the
side.
tanks were coming down, was right in this
Yeah.
side?
They splayed out on either side. Either side of the
You've had that one shot showed a tank over a road. Is that where? Is this the road that it was laying over?
No, that shot was one.
That was a different
You see,
flight.
before we ever went uprange with the bird, we decided that we'd make a release right over Edwards proper, and we did that. Here's the airbase here. And here's North Base. Here's the NASA facility right here. Here's the big compass rose that sits. This is actually this is on the surface of the sand. It's right in there. Okay, we took off, climbed out, and we dropped the tanks right out in just to the northwest of where all the
Lehman Ridge.
where the rocket run-up towers are.
Yeah.
We dropped that right out in here. So those two photographs. This is the day that we spotted that problem with the design of the old thruster in the high shear part, and that's where that tank came down and was destroyed, and the other tank came down okay. So that's where that set of pictures was taken.
Okay.
But these were all. I'm certain that this was the Maurer cam that was up in there. But I think Harry
So
Shapiro or
that's
one of
what's
the other.
on the aircraft now. Then.
Yeah.
Now, do you know, did they use different cameras on the different aircraft? I know, or did they use the same type of camera?
No, you were always testing different things.
Okay, because I know the one on the one that's in the Smithsonian, the #1 aircraft, it looks like the same type of an opening, but it's located way up toward the nose instead of back in the center fuselage.
Each ship had slightly different alterations on it based on whatever kind of tests, and if an engineer was testing a particular thing that was only could be run on that aircraft, and that was the aircraft they flew the next time for that flight. And you say you've already got some of these radar tracks and showing the
they just threw out all the originals about a year ago
off the plotters up at NASA. My youngest son was only 12 or 14 years old, right after Pete made the high-speed flight, and then I took him, and my daughter had just gotten married. I took my youngest son and my son-in-law up there one day with me, and introduced them both to Pete, and we went out to the hangar, and let both the boys sit in Pete. Pete was giving them a good show. I was really happy because Pete really, he knew the boys were really thrilled, and he was. We walked up the work stand. He said, "You boys like this?" Sure. Oh man, they were really been out.
How about lunch?
So, and then we had a copy of a plot, one full size made off of the plot board, and Pete autographed that from the youngest son. He still got that over his house.
That's what. That's how I first got involved with the X-15, so to speak. I was about that age too. About that time, I used to go along with my dad up there to Edwards all the time, and he'd pawn me off on some friend of his while he did his work, and I get the grand tour of the base and everything. We'd go out and check out and see what the X-15 was ready for flight and whatever. And it was great.
Then after we were through there, we got through. We went in the NASA cafeteria up there and had our lunch meal. Then fooled around the hangar a little bit longer. Then decided to go. And the boys both asked me about the same time. Where is the B-70? So I said, okay, let's go. So we drove over to the B-70 hangar, and I walked inside and grabbed a field service rep, and he came back outside the hangar with me. And told the guard at the gate that he would walk with us while we're inside. We both had our employees' badges on, and the guard said, "Well, okay, as long as they're escorted visitors, that'd be fine." So we took them in, walked along underneath the B-7, you know, and the boys just kept staring up and up and up that big thing sitting up there in the sky.
Yeah.
They were sure.
Well, it was a beautiful aircraft. In fact, after this book, that's my next project, is the D-70. I've been collecting data on that, too. It was a secondary reason for the Air Force Museum. Got lots of pictures of that.
We've got a young Japanese fellow that's working down there at Rockwell. He came and started worked for me in 19... He was in the first group of college kids that we hired after we started the B-1 again. So he must have started to work by about 72. And he's a real B-70.
Oh, yeah.
A real B-70 freak. Newspaper clippings, that's when Pioneer Aviation named to vanish. You know, no more North American, it's just going to be Rockwell International.
Yeah, I remember when that happened.
X-15 flight test outside fuel tanks, newspaper clippings like that. This is when we delivered the X-15 to Edwards. I saved a bunch of the old company papers that have those kind of things now. I asked you the other day, you know, if you knew Howard Evans, the fact that you both had the things, that's Howard standing right there. And Ralph Rude.
I wonder if there is a relation. He doesn't come from Kansas, did he? That's where our family all comes from.
With more clippings, I don't know, you know, whether those things are of value.
Oh yeah, I've got quite a few clippings and stuff. I've got copies of everything.
Some of these, have you seen that before?
Oh yeah, I've got a picture of that one framed right next to my
that's
writing table.
That's sitting over in front of the weight and balance hangar. They both had to be over there that day for some reason. We had to be because that was after we had the ablative coating on everything, on the bird and the tank drawn and everything. We went over for an empty weight and balance check in the big weights hangar up there.
Those are beautiful aircraft. The two best side by side.
That is a standard PR handout down there at the work. There's Joe Engel. That was made on, that's with the ramjet underneath. That could very well be that high power.
Yeah, I think it is. There was only two flights, I think, with the full coating. One didn't have the tanks, and one did.
Because, you know, we burnt the nose off this thing.
Yeah.
It actually started, it got buttery soft to the point where, you know, the aerodynamic heating.
Yeah.
The thing got buttery soft and there was damage on it.
Yeah, this piece that's sticking down right here, that little spike that's stuck down in the ramjet, a guy named Johnny Armstrong works up at Edwards. He's got that sitting in his desk, that little piece. He's the one who found the ramjet when it was laying out in the desert. He's the one who pinpointed where it was at. So he got first dibs on the extra pieces of it.
These the tanks on the bird. Okay, this has to be another one shot that same day then.
Yeah.
This is down at LAD before the
That's an interesting
before we carried it up. This was shot that same day. Shot there. Gene Boswell shot a whole. He did a 8-point walk around. Then we've got this shot from 8.
It looks like it was up on a
Different kind.
scaffold or something.
Yeah, an arrow stand. They built an arrow stand up there.
This is really neat. I like that. It's really unusual angle on it there. Yeah, that's one thing. I'm also a photographer too, and I love to. I just wish I'd been a house photographer back then or something.
This is with ablative coating sitting. This is that same day of that other walk around, just a different angle. And that's right at takeoff. Yes, that same day. Coming right up off the ramp.
What is that from?
They're test panels with ablative
Oh,
coating.
the ablative, yeah. Looks like it really spread there. What is the... Looks like it's... Why does it have that notch to it, do you know?
I mean, two different...
Well, it looks like, if you're looking at the top, it comes out like this instead of just a flat.
Yeah.
Right.
It was double.
Oh, I see what they're probably doing, the different thickness or whatever,
Yeah,
okay.
they were probably testing out two different materials. On a flight like that, you'd do as many things as you could
Oh,
to make the dollars
Mm-hmm.
make the dollars count. This is that same. It's now that same test pen. This is another test pen on the side of it. Side of it.
It's like a piece of tile off the shuttle or something.
Here's a mock-up of another piece under here without ablative coating. Okay, these probably were the same day. It looks like the same piece of equipment hanging off the vertical there.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're doing ablative tests on the different aircraft. This was on the number 1 aircraft. Of course, they're probably doing this while you guys were still building down there or something.
Yeah, this stuff may or may not be in any kind of chronology here.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, I've got some pictures of some of the test panels and things. Also, I was interested in the ablative itself was actually pink. And they had it painted over with the white.
Yeah.
They said that, I was told by, do you know Jack Call? Ever heard of Jack Call? He's one of the guys that works for NASA. He's one of the engineers up there. Yeah, he was just saying that, I guess it was very lock sensitive, the ablative was, and so they had to come up with a coating on the outside of it. And they said that even if it hadn't been lock sensitive, they would have come up with some excuse to have painted it. They couldn't have lived with a pink aircraft.
It looked just exactly like that pink, those soft pink erasers.
The erasers, yeah.
That you use in the drafting room.
Yeah, I've seen some movies of that when they were
exactly
spraying
like
it on and everything. They were sitting there with their sanders, sanding it down. Right.
Well, I think we've been through most of these and we've discussed them. That one thing shouldn't be in there. It's an F-108 test stand.
Oh, yeah?
Back in the days when we started F-108.
What is this? It's like
It's going to be a missile launcher that went in on F-108 for launching missiles on it. But then the F-108 never materialized.
Yeah. We were talking about the B-70 for a second. Were you ever involved in the B-70 program? Yeah.
Worked on it during this case.
Oh, what was your job on the B-70?
Weapons. Weapons bay. That great big, huge translating door.
Yeah. It looked like the door slid back.
Yeah,
Is it?
they're in tracks.
Yeah.
Little bogey systems along the sides of the doors and a set of tracks along there. And that was a big problem. You open those doors and that bay would do like that to rush you there up.
Oh,
The sidewalls on the door would do that. So we had to make those bogies on the doors, lean out sideways so that as the door slid up and down that opening, you'd be able to translate in the tracks.
What was the difference between the number 1 and the number 2 B-70? They said the number 2 was so much more advanced over the number 1.
Well, the thing is that number 1, if you remember going up there,
it looked like it had all been covered over with the lids off of tuna cans or patches of oil cans. There were so many mistakes on that bird, and so many holes, and so many
patched together.
Oh, you know, if a bird was going to go down, it should have been there.
Yeah. It should have been the other way around.
Yeah.
It should have been the other way around. I was up there. I'd gone up. We were getting ready to make another tank flight. And as I came up Highway 120, 120, when you leave Lancaster, you cut across and then go across to 90th, go up 90th, then cut across on one street, and then go up 120th into the south end of the base, past the hospital down there at the south end. And as I was going up that thing, while the B-70 was coming in, he was making touch and goes. You touch down, take off, make a loop out over the rocket engine stand, come back, make a touch and go. And by the time we got up to the parking lot and got inside, why they were calling for the airplanes to be rendezvoused out. What it was a publicity thing that the GE had asked for, with all aircraft using GE engines. And Joe Walker was sent up and seen. NASA had 3 F-104 chases, 812, 813, 814. And they sent Joe up in ship 813. And North American had said they had advised against this. No, they weren't going to fly the B-7. No, they didn't want to have their personnel. And the base commander had said, we're going to do this for GE. We'll go ahead with this. And when Joe got up into the formation, the tips on the B-70 wing were down. And he came up on that outside. And the GE people were in a Learjet running off out here at the side, photographing the group of birds. And the GE people said, you've got to come in closer with the F-104. And Joe started up, edging up closer. Well, that spoiled air coming down, it was that turn down tip that provides your lift on them. Yeah. So the turbulence coming off the bottom of that thing was fantastic. He got caught in that turbulence and it just flipped him right upside down. He skinned across the top, and that was when it cut him off right across the tops of the shoulders. Yeah. And it was upside down going across there, sheared off the verticals on the B-70. It flipped the B-70 over on its back. Al got it back over again and was yelling, Mayday, Mayday all the time. The rest of us were in the NASA radio room, and we heard this call going. And so we immediately sent the NASA people were, it was their show from that point of view. They sent the pilot down with a helicopter and said, get out there immediately. And in a few minutes, he came back over the radio and said he could see the F-104 sitting down in a gully. On the side of a gully. So he landed, and in a few minutes he came back on the radio and said that Joe Walker's body was still in the cockpit of the ship. But right behind the pilot's compartment is the liquid oxygen tank for the
104.
The 104 has liquid oxygen vessel on the thing. And he said that he mentioned that the fire from that liquid oxygen was so hot it had melted the aluminum in the fuselage structure behind, and the molten aluminum had run down the side of the gully and formed a puddle in the bottom of the gully.
Where was the crash site on that? Wasn't that up in about the same area where you were talking about the tank drop test was?
No, a little
little further out. I think it was on beyond 4.6 on the other side.
Yeah.
And then when Major Adams came down, why he, on ship 3, it hit just above Randsburg and that area, south of Indokrant.
Whatever happened to the wreckages of the B-70 and the X-15? Were those?
Well, they sat in the hangar out there for a long time. I don't
Yeah.
know where they're at. But then, whenever there's a wreck like that, boy, they immediately clear out a large hangar area and they bring everything
And
out.
reconstruct
Yeah,
everything.
lay it all out, pattern where all the people and the accident investigation team.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that, the accident investigation set up for when the engine blew up in the test stand. And they took it over and put it in the hangar with all the pieces there and stuff. And there wasn't anything in the center section left of that one.
And this is too far south to show where the This was an very early drawing of Jarrett's as to what the configuration would look like. Yeah. See, this was right back when I first started. John had, like I say, John's been with the company a long time and has been involved in preliminary designs of each of the major aircraft we ever produced. And he started these kind of studies even before they started rounding all the rest of us up to do the work. But this is John's. I think this was John's final layout because we made everything like this. But you can see it's got the tanks and fan in there. Watch everything else called out. The stretch section there. From work one night, super tired. He told his wife that he was so tired that he thought he went and go to bed. She heard him fall off the edge of the bed. He was taking off his shoes. That's usually left-hand side heart attack. That's the one that accounts for these real high statistics of death on 55% in the first hour, and then another 4%, 5% the next 48 hours, and then 18% the following year. Left-hand chambers is bad. Lung disease is mostly all in the right-hand chambers. My last reason for my last operation, they looked at my left-hand bypasses. They're in 98% occluded. 3 days later, I had my son surgery. They said, don't do anything. Just, they put me on nitroglycerin, which is vasodilator. You relax my vessels down in my blood. Because it was Memorial Day weekend. I said, come back on Tuesday. So. This is just a whole set of drawings that have been reduced by microfilm services. It's a lot of the stuff we've seen, plus other things too. But if you've already gotten stuff from microfilm,
I've only got 3 sheets. I've got Gary Bear.
it was this same guy, Lowell Ford.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Lowell since he started work there as a kid, Ford married, started raising a family on his own.
So
one of the other Air Force guys that was down one day for a briefing. For briefing tanks and tank system. That's Jim Canning in the background, another one of the guys. He's not in that group picture, but he's on the list of names that the guys that work there. This is number one when it came back in December of '66 to have some modification done on it. You'll notice that building out back is the same building that's in some of those other, you know, where I told you.
Oh, where you did the walk around? Yeah.
Yeah, this same building right there, that's that same building back there. This big door that's open here is this door over here in the front end. It had been up there. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing that makes it.
And it was, do you know Milt Thompson?
From several.
Yeah.
Several
The only way he ever referred to the X-15 was the airplane. He always called it the airplane. Not even aircraft. It was always the airplane.
I don't know what's pertinent here, but it was a brief article on
Like
X-15 as recently as '79. By then this is the new format of newspaper, but
no longer North American. At least they've got this, still have the name North American Aircraft Operations over there, so the name still exists.
But for a long time, man, on my reports and everything, I'd always, if I put my signature on anything, I rebelled against that Rockwell. And this is the one that came out in '69 in the program.
There's the Dean's Caddy.
So there's several. mechanical engineer.
Is he still around?
I think he's retired. His son works there at Rockwell. Rick. Rick Evans is his son's name. But all kinds of honors. You know, great guy. He'd come into the group and say, "Robbie, come on." He said, "I got my plane out." The company always let him have that Beechcraft fee. Any place we wanted to go. "Robbie, come on." He said, "So and so wants to see us up at Everest." So away we'd go. We'd just he and myself would pile on that bird with a pilot.
All right. Oh, great shot of the B-1 back there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's got some fabulous photography.
Yeah. Still never have forgiven Carter for killing that. Back then.
My wife likes to say that that's what caused
Uh-huh.
my heart attack.
Oh, yeah, I had to show you the letters I wrote to Carter after. I was sitting there listening to that. I was in the Air Force at the time. I was listening to the notice on the radio, and I wrote him about a 10-page letter after that. You idiot, you know. Yes.
This is a copy that came out when they decided to tear down everything this side of
Yeah, tore down
Imperial
that.
Highway.
Yeah.
The whole building's gone, but there's some of the early photographs.
Huh. Oh, those would be neat. I'd love to take
Way
copies of those. That's neat.
I've got real. These are only half tones. Don't try to copy them. I think I've got everything in
Oh, great.
real photography in there.
Yeah, isn't it? There's just a blank field there, dead field there, isn't there now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the old concrete slabs.
Yeah, they're just
steel
nothing's gone.
bolts and
Yeah.
things like that sticking through.
Yeah.
You know, it's history for a lot of us, man. It was our whole darn life. Everything that we gave our
That was another
blood and tears for.
yeah, another comment that Koff made was that you know, it was such an exciting program to work on, and then after it left, you know, what could you top it with? You know, there was nothing after that to top it.
Oh, okay. Or just Collier Awards. That it gives all the awards from 1911 clear through. Well, clear right up to when the article was written. But there's a picture of Pete with Roller Death Rockwell. Complimenting him after the high-speed flight.
I got to get a hold of Pete. He was running for city council up there. I got to find out if he won or not.
Well, you know, I hope this kind of stuff will do you some good. You know, I'd like to have some idea how long you think you might be using it.
Well,
digging
yeah, if you
through
could let me borrow it or whatever, I can just run copies of everything fairly quickly, and then, you know, get all that stuff back to you. And then there's some photographs. If I could just take copy negatives of it, you know, I set up, I have a little copy stand and everything. I'll take a copy of it and get that stuff back really quickly.
See, you know, I go from 9x clear to 1,000 millimeter myself.
Oh yeah.
Because 9x is when I'm looking at eyeballs, antenna clubs, tarsi. Because when I'm publishing on Beetles, I like to document everything that I'm writing with photographs. So I've got my macro lens, I've got my bellows, I've got my doublers, and I start with my macro lens and go right on up through infinity, and I've got 28 wide, 35 wide, 135 telephoto, the zoom 80 to 210 plus an image doubler on that, and then recently I got the Sigma 1000. I sure like that thing.
Oh yeah, I've got.
I've only had it a little over a month now.
I'm in the other direction, sort of going for the telephoto. I've got all the way up to 2,000, and in fact, I go out and shoot the shuttle landings and stuff. I was in here with one of my shots. That was with 1,000.
What is your 1,000? Who made it? Who
Meade.
the manufacturer?
Meade telescope. And it's a converted telescope. It just has the camera on it. It's a beautiful lens.
I think I've seen the Meade in some in the photo.
Yeah, I had the Celestron for a while, and I sold that and got the Meade. I think the Meade is much nicer.
Well, I've heard so many things about I've read so much literature over the years and followed the different lenses. I went Sigma on that thing over there. I've heard so much about it.
I've always sworn by the Nikkor lenses. I've got the Nikon set up and stuff. When they rolled out the last shuttle, the Discovery from Palmdale, I was up there. Some guy was there, and he had a Canon 500 millimeter. And I looked through that. That has got to be one of the most beautiful lenses I have seen. That Canon 500 millimeter is just crystal clear. It had a really bright. When you get
Was it a catadioptric or all glass?
No, it's catadioptric. But it was usually when you're looking through the long telephoto, you have such a dark field in there because you're like at f10 or even more. That thing was just like you were looking through a 2.5 or something. It was beautiful, really nice. I was really impressed with that.
Just Neil's picture, and they're talking about the astronauts, but they throw his picture on there because they happen to have it with.
Yeah, I've got a copy of that shot. He was one of the ones I got to talk to when I was back in Ohio. It was pretty nice.
Tried to put just X-15 adds another mission to it. It's just remarkable building his flight.
Too bad they never got that 200th off. I hear they have little commemorative medallions or something like that they were going to give out to everybody on the 200th mission, and of course they didn't get to do that. Those are real collector's items now. Oh, I know. You might know about it. Somebody at North American instigated the policy of they had certificates that they gave to the pilots when they went past certain Mach numbers. They call it like a Mach 4 club, Mach 5 club. Did you know anything about that?
I've heard about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was trying to find. I'd love to get a copy of one of the certificates. Forrest Peterson's got some on his wall, and I don't know if I can get a copy off of one of those or not. It's way back east, a little difficult.
Maybe Bob Hoover would be the guy to.
Bob Hoover?
Hoover with the who does all the stuff in the P-51 and the Aero Commander. He's the best PR pilot we've got. Bob might help you.
Okay, is he still at the North American?
Yeah, as far as I know, every once in a while, you'll see him on TV or read about him in the paper.
Yeah, I know the name.
I know Bob, ever since '86 days, because he and Walsh used to fight like cats and dogs, kind of a personality clash because they were both damn good pilots. But Bob had told George time after time, he said, George, you can't okay the F-100 with that small tail on it. He said, you and I can handle that bird. He said, those kids in the Air Force can't got that bigger tail. George was killed in that. On the demonstration flight. The F-100 with a small tail.
Yeah, I remember about that. Oh, do you know where Al White is, or who I could find that might know where he is? Because I know he was slated to fly the X-15 and he got off onto the B-70 program. He was a backup pilot for Crossfield. Crossfield was saying he was really happy when White got the B-70 program, so he wasn't out flopping it.
Some of those Air Force or some of the PR guys don't complain, but if you can get in touch with Bob Hoover, why Bob's going to know absolutely for all these guys.
Okay, I'll try to get a hold of him.
Another name that I'll give you is Jim Selvo. Jim Selvo is S-E-L-V-O.
Okay.
Jim lived up there in Lancaster for years and years. He was the North American tech rep at NASA on the X-15. And Jim is known all over Edwards. And one trouble is I don't know how to get hold of some of these guys myself, but
I have to start checking phone books.
the picture with the eyelid on one.
Yeah, the eyelid's still on it back at the Air Force Museum. Too bad they never got that 7th Mach number out of it, too.
I mean B1. That I got the B1 model there for employees. But I've got an awful lot of pictures. I spent a lot of months at the Edwards because every weapons package, all the weapons modules, all the age devices have been back on the East Coast in Cockeysville, Maryland, where they make the big lifters that way. Lift the weapons up into the AUF.
Yeah, when I was in the Air Force, I worked on the SRAM, and that was on the B1 there. In fact, I was at the station at Fairchild, and the weapons loading team from Fairchild, which I didn't have anything to do with it. I was the maintenance on the SRAM, electronics on it. But our weapons loading team was the first team to come down to Edwards and actually unload SRAMs into the B1, and for an Air Force crew.
Yeah. Well, were you in that crew that day?
No, I was.
Okay, because
I had a bunch of friends on that team.
Okay, I was there that day because I was I'm the armament engineer on board, or was.
Yeah.
And, so
Yeah,
I trained the crew that we had there at Edwards, and then we had a one-on-one where every one of the Air Force guys that came down, we put one with every one of our North American crew to
Yeah, I think the lead for the team was a guy named Gabbard, or some tall, thin guy. He was one of the leads from the load team. He used to live right across the hall from me in the barracks. He brought back a lot of pictures. In fact, I got copies of a lot of his pictures because they had a B-1 flight and everything, and he took pictures of them flying around.
And more retirement article listed the pilots and picture crossfield with ship one. And then this much on the front page. There's Jim Selwell right there. His name is spelled wrong here too. Gotta be. It says Selve or something like that. Yeah, it should be Selwell. This is Jim standing right here. Real great guy.
Pete with the sunglasses there.
If he's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a picture of
Bob
Bob
Hoover.
right there.
Yeah. So how long was Bob, or how long has he been with North American?
Gosh,
Early 50s?
yeah. Right at the start of the 86s.
Yeah.
Fact is, he was one of the first guys to bail out. He's so long-legged, he snapped both of his knees. Both of his legs. He caught him on the edge of the canopy. And he didn't get himself tucked back in tight in his seat before he pulled the grips. Pow!
Oh. Sort of like Al White, and he didn't get his elbow in the thing in the B-70.
No. He crawled across the desert to a farmhouse and back came out and found him.
Are any of these Hoovers related? There's so many Hoovers in flight testing. There was
I
Herbert
don't
Hoover,
know.
and there apparently from Forrest Peterson said that he was the only Navy person to fly the X-15, and there was a replacement Navy pilot sent out, and his name was Hoover also. There's a lot of Hoovers in flight testing.
He's been flying planes since he was 11 years old. He goes clear back to the early barnstorming days, trick air, standing on the wing and looping the plane, flying through hangars. I've flown alongside this guy back in the days when we had Navy Hawks instead of the DC-2s and 3. We over the years North American used all kinds of things to get up there. Well, if we had to go out, if I was going out and maybe one of the pilots, they and myself would grab a Navy and go. And many times it's been with Bob, and I can sit for hours and just listen to him go on and on and on about his flying days. But we were coming back over the pass here right after I moved in here. Yeah, because I bought this house in 51, brand new. It was right shortly after that. So Bob goes clear back the early part. We were coming right down over the mountains. And he said, Bob, I just live right over there. So wow, he comes over here and he said, which house is it? I said, well, that one right there. And he stood that thing on its wing. We just made a tight little knot right over here, and then he went on down to the plant.
I was expecting to land on your front porch or something. Need the Harrier for that.
Joe Engel and myself. Joe was down on tanks at the Leonard Gaines. That's the guy that's the aerodynamicist that did all the tank studies in the wind tunnel and came up with all the ballistic data that we had to have to design the tanks around. Henry Louis, the guy that's head of power plant again, he's in that group, but Leonard wasn't, and of course Joe. These are just different things, or that was when I was getting that B1 over there for the 30-year badge. Well, that's some of the original pictures of Joe. These three pictures now these are done with that the presentation model again. What's the date on this?
63.
Right early.
Yeah. Did you have anything to do with the Delta Wing design? They were
No. But I've seen it.
Yeah.
That was going to be they're going to call that the dash, I guess the dash 3. But you know, the way that was drawn was to be launched off the top of the B-7.
Yeah, I've got a drawing of that.
Yeah, go piggyback style.
Yeah.
Okay,
That
so
would have
here's
something.
more X-15.
Yeah. And I guess Bill Dana was saying that he was out there flying the thing, and he really expected that Delta Wing to go right up until the day they said the project was canceled. They had no idea they were going to just take it out from under them like that. By the way, when your wife comes back, tell her I'm not going to forgive her for bringing these out here. The cashier.
I really don't think there's anything in that over there. Okay, here's an early North American. This is back in 1941 when they had the strike there and they brought in the Army.
Oh, yeah.
To patrol the place.
15th Infantry, then go.
Oh, brother. Okay. This is Sepulveda Boulevard coming up through along the end of where, now this is a tunnel. This is Lincoln Boulevard, which now swings clear over here and comes around. It intersects where the tunnel now is. This is the old farm building that used to stand out there. And this is Mines Field, right here with the old hangar buildings. There's the start of North American Rockwell. This is Aviation Boulevard on the railroad tracks coming down along there. And this is
That's where Hughes and stuff is over here. Yeah. Is that where that is?
No, right now, Hughes.
I'm looking at the. I had
Hughes
that's
is
over
up
this
here
way.
on
Okay.
Douglas Street.
Right, that's on that side.
Or not, Nash Street. This is this is where Nash Street comes in. So Hughes is right up here now.
Yeah. Okay, I had it turned the other direction. Yeah.
And same thing, different angle.
Yeah.
This is yeah, here's Imperial Highway. Up here's where Petmeyer's Drive-In used to be. Great big hotel up here now. The tunnel is down on here. And LA International just no nada.
It's like a racetrack.
Nothing over there.
It's like a dirt racetrack.
Yeah. Even Hollywood Park isn't over there. You know, Hollywood Park should be over here someplace.
You don't happen to have any aerial views of Edwards, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, great. That's something back in the X-15 days.
I think so.
Yeah.
We'll take a look. Okay. There's fairly old.
Yeah. You can see the old cars.
Yeah, the old cars,
late
aviation, here's the railroad tracks, and, you know, the building eventually got added to on this side and on that side.
This is the building where the X-15 was built. Or was that?
Well, right over here on this corner.
Yeah, okay. That's nice.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, sure. Okay, more modern LA, but still without the big tooling building that went over on this side. Still no Douglas. You know, Douglas aircraft occupied this, which is present day FAA hangar. Sits right here.
Okay.
And this is in the days before we ever had the experimental building and the experimental hangars, which sat on this side. You might get a glass on those birds and see what they are. Get some idea of what type of
Those look like Mustangs.
Here's a little 25 power magnifier.
Yeah, they look like Mustangs. There's something that vintage. No, those aren't Mustangs. But yeah, it's during that time. Can't quite tell.
Okay. Same intersection again, aviation, Imperial, but now this building was built right at the start of the war.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we call our tooling building. This eventually became Douglas, but is now
No, Northrop. Yeah. Oh, this is all North American down here now?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay, where's the, isn't Northrop? Or is that farther down this way?
They've got the buildings that we used to have.
Mm-hmm.
When we lost when Carter canceled B-1, then
Oh.
Northrop grabbed these buildings
Okay.
from us, which now, you know, we wish we had them back. but
Yeah.
it's too late. Here's
How good is used to build all the new ones at the Palmdale.
this building right here is the subsonic wind tunnel. This structure right here with these big ribs on it is the big vortex chamber
Mm-hmm.
that leads around to the throat of where the subsonic wind tunnel is. This is the vacuum chamber, and this is the storage chamber, and the building in the middle is the throat for the supersonic wind tunnel. You stored all your air in here, you evacuated this, you opened up the valve, put your model in the throat, opened up the valve, and then supersonic air. So that's that part. This is the experimental hangar and building over on this side, and the X-15 was built right in this side of this thing right here, or that -2 bird. machine shops, assembly areas. Upstairs is all electronics and that kind of thing. Our big parking lot. This is my test range. These are firing abutments at both of these buildings for gun storage, all my bomb rack storage. My explosives bunker was out there where I kept all my powder and munitions stored. I don't know if you've ever seen that before, was it?
No, I haven't seen
Just one of those things that floats
Very
around.
dead. Okay.
Okay, this is the same setup again. North American big buildings out here, our entire tooling building here. This is the thing that became our new general offices building, which today is occupied by the telephone company.
Okay.
This is Douglas Street, dead ending on Imperial Highway. Nash Street and Hughes are back this way.
Yeah, Douglas is where the North American Aircraft Operations is now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's down that street.
Yeah. These are the things that became Douglas's hangars, where they built the SBDs and the A4s and the F3s. And then when Douglas moved out of here, well, then FAA took over these things. That's just a duplicate of the same thing. Instead of copying that one, you can have
Okay. Bombay or something.
yeah, it's looking out through the bay.
Yeah.
Here's the new jet runway. Here's the LAX terminals, the big square out in the middle. Here's the whatchamacallit,
Yeah.
25 south, 25 north. Our buildings, FAA buildings.
This Imperial right here, right?
Yeah, Imperial Aviation Boulevard, San Diego Freeway. That's the way you came in.
Yeah.
Right up through here. There's NASA.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been out there on that place a bunch of times.
And that weight and balance hangar where you saw the picture of the B-1 and the X-15 was set down in front of the weight and balance hangar.
Have you been up there recently? No. The place has changed so much. They've got buildings up, especially the NASA area is just totally overgrown with buildings now. Used to just be that one building with the two hangars on either side.
That's a duplicate. Okay,
Yeah.
keep that. Have to copy that.
Thank you.
That's the bay. The bay area. I don't know how come that got stacked. Wife got to a point where she could show the show to anybody and tell them everything that I said about it. She knew the whole spiel. I'd show it to the Boy Scouts. She'd show it to the Cub Scouts. I'd take it to church and show it to the women's group. She'd take it to church and show it to the women's group. I wonder if that mask, that raven mask, is going to be in it. You know, right there.
Whoops.
You know, we still ought to have the image is so small. I'd forgotten this camera. The other night, I was just projecting it on the white mat board, and it worked great. I didn't realize the image was so small. That's out at the front of the NASA complex. And that's the entryway right there. Just a sweep across the front of the thing. Now then this is around on the landing strip side of the hangars, looking back through in the other direction. The offices over there in the center section. Okay, this is inside the hangar, and that's one of the GHU items, the trailer that's sitting there. It lifts the tank up and down, and it sits in cradles, so it can be slewed to the right or to the left, depending on whether you're working on the right-hand side or left-hand side of the ship. Each end is independent jacking, so you can jack it from either end to move it up onto the berth. That's those doors that open up right in that center section right there that meet with where the big fuel interchange lines are. The back end of the tank there, you can see that one knob sticking up there is that outboard sway race. And then you notice in this shot the big recovery chute isn't fastened on the front end, the nose cone isn't there. And then this is towing the bird out to the engine run-up stand.
Like it's still missing a few parts.
Yeah, well, you see, in these markings drawings here, you'll see that one of the sketches that John has made on there, he says which panels have to be off for engine run-up. That's why when you come in engine run-up stand, there's certain panels have to be off. When you're doing one kind of servicing, other panels are removed. That's just testing the sprinkling system.
Oh,
See this? The back end of the bird is completely encircled in these nozzles. Big flood holes. If anything goes wrong back in the engine area, you can immediately dump everything in water.
So is there an engine run-up done for each external tank flight? Before
There was an engine run-up done for every flight, no matter what.
There was.
It was always run the day before the flight. Every flight, every bird.
And that whole facility is still there, just like that. Yeah, there's still all the. They had just fuel tanks that were connected to engines for just engine testing. They're all just still sitting there. And
This guy leaning up against the pole here is Bill Albrecht. The guy there in the white short sleeve shirt and dark pants. He's the NASA engineer on that project. That's the control panel for the control station. Okay, now the engine's going there. You see the bright glow coming out of the back. This is just merely a box leaking from something else. So That's what the telephoto is going and closing. Look at the firm. I don't know what
So the full duration burn just to test out the whole system, make
yeah,
sure.
you go full each time. That's peak right there. And when you're in this area, why, everybody is either carrying or immediately where they can grab a gas mask. That anhydrous ammonia is so strong that if the vapors sweep across you and you breathe them, it's capable of stopping your heart. It works that rapidly. And there's a sniffer device that sits out there too that senses any ammonia and will immediately ring an alarm bell. And you grab your gas mask immediately. Now this is with the B-52 out on the pad, and the X-15 is being wheeled into place. And right here in the pavement, you'll notice the elevator pad. One right here for the front end, there's one back at the back end for the rear end of the bird. And on each of those elevator pads are skew plates. So as you're coming up, by running a little ratchet backward and forward, you can adjust the plate sideways or point at. This is a mating process taking place here. There's the elevator plate moving up out of the ramp. And back through there, you can see that huge diameter. That's the hydraulic column right there. The silver column.
Yeah.
Lifting column coming up out of there.
Yeah, this is the version that I have painted up with the white camera marks, the stripes on the X-15 that go down the center. That's the version I made on the model.
That Shannon glow orange paint was to make it easier for the cameras and the chase planes and all the rest to see the tanks.
Do you know if this was the only flight that used that had the X-15 with the white cross paint job on it, and was
Sure don't.
I don't know how many tank flights, because I've got a whole series of photos that are identical to that. They've got a shot, one of the chase planes took a whole series just, going underneath the aircraft like that, and you got it from every different angle. It's really beautiful.
Now this is the next morning, going out to base at sunrise, and out of the flight strip getting ready. Floodlights still on that time of morning. Now then, these sequences that you will see will not always be the same airplane or the same flight, because I couldn't be in two places at once.
Oh, yeah.
If I was at one, I was shooting there.
Yeah.
If I was at another one, I was shooting up there. So don't expect a proper chronology of events here.
Yeah.
I tried to make a fairly running story out of it, but it happened over a period of time.
Yeah.
You have to fudge a little bit in a
That's right.
circumstance like that. There's Bill in the white shirt. That's Henry Louis standing with his back to us and his hands in his pocket. the Chinese fellow, the power plant. He's North American type. It looks like Rochefort's back there. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's everything cold. You see the belly of the ship is cold. The tank is cold.
I think the red on the lower ventral and on the skids, is that the ablator?
Yep. That my son-in-law had to stick that little burp about it. His Model A in there. He thought that made great. What's that?
Good contrast, yeah. Make sure everybody's still awake, right? That's fine.
This is up at Mud Lake. This is the little Mud Lake Airport. Some of those birds that are sitting around there belong to the party, but this is where Ray and Angie Blackmore lived. Their house was built right on that thing. Some of those aircraft were visitors in the Tonopah. Some of those aircraft were, there may have been a NASA ship or something sitting there. He's got fuel, he can refuel the plane. He's got the fire engine there. This is a photo job that was setting up there. Come up to a photo mapping. It's a photo mapping series. I couldn't resist it since it was a B-25.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's beautiful.
This is the road going from Tonopah Airport. Whoops, we're back at.
I haven't left the airport yet.
I don't know how that happened. That's the Buffalo that brings the NASA people up, and that's the dirt road out across the Rock Range. Okay, this is the people from our space division that had come up with the big long range TV terminal is over there.
Yeah.
This is a high-speed 15 over here. This is my vehicle sitting here. So the same purple map spread out on top of my car.
So where is all that film footage now? It's Rockwell footage though, it's not NASA? Those are all Rockwell cameras?
That should be
North American.
This
But,
film being shot right there.
Yeah. so it should probably still be in their film archive somewhere. Yeah.
There's more background with just a spill of logs. And it dribbles all the way out to the runway that way. If you haven't dribbled, it will dribble. Now this is uprange. Now then, this is them coming up. So I'm looking out to the east. This is the up track. They haven't made the circle coming back. Now then, they'll come back downrange here, right across the top there. But now then, one of these didn't turn out to be a drop. And, I really didn't cleverly edit the footage out of it. This may be the one where they turned around. There's chase one off on the right-hand side there. Now that's looking back the other way. I think that's the past the day they came up. They decided not to drop. You know that happens a lot more times than you realize.
Yeah, there was a lot of aboard.
Come all the way up and don't drop, turn around, go back. That was why I got that nickname with the mirror. So long. But I'd collect bugs and look for Indian artifacts out there on the dry lake beds.
Keep busy, huh?
That's the buffalo.
the film that really faded that bad, or was more photography? Seems to me that the film used to be a little crisper. A little crisper.
Yeah, these old films tend to definitely lose their stuff over a few years.
Yeah. Here they come back down range a bit. Now there's a chase plane on the right and the left. Okay, there's launch. B-52 pulling away. Chase planes moving out to the side.
It's moving.
Here comes the tank.
The long range cameras that they had, what were the, how close were they? What kind of magnification did they
Well,
have?
they were way back on those mountain peaks, but they had 120-inch lenses.
Yeah.
Now then, on that first drop, that bird that's orbiting around up there is taking camera shots of that all the way down too. They're watching it. That's mentioned in one of those, not one of those program outlines.